Hi, I am Pam Hanshoe, and I'm the owner of Revivals Fiber Arts and Gatherings at the Little White Church. It's down at 328 Meridian, and we are going to be opening officially, at least we hope, right before the fair next year, 2021. So what I'm going to teach you today is weaving using things that you wouldn't think of. And this is a mat that I made. I used plastic chicken wire and I stripped out pieces of old skirts. I had some backing that one of my friends had sewn that she was going to put on a quilt. I've added buttons and embroidery, and this is now the mat that I use when I go to quilt retreats for my sewing machine, and it's really nice and soft. Now, what you're going to have when you talk to the library, you're going to get a kit, and inside the kit, this little plastic bag, is going to be a 12 by 12 piece of plastic chicken wire. And what you're going to do, and you can do this any way you want to. I actually prefer having my stuff just kind of like thrown out and in a jumble, because the mat that I made, I think they look nicer whenever they're kind of twisty and fun looking. And you're going to take your first piece, run it through the 1-inch square, and all you're doing is running it through each square over and under on a regular basis. You can put them in any order that you want. There's no particular rhyme or reason to this. It's what you want to do with it. And the reason that I'm using this plastic chicken wire and this reclaimed fabric is so that you know that you can use anything in your house to weave, and you can produce some really neat looking things. Now, if your kids were going, or your grandkids were there, and you wanted to have a little activity with them so they could make something, say, for mom or dad for Christmas, you could go through and maybe strip some old shirts that they had worn, or skirts or pants, or even some stuff that you have at the house that you might have thought to throw to Goodwill. And you just keep running it through. It gets a little bit easier as you get more fabric in. And like I said, I like the twists and turns that it gives it. I think it adds character and it fills it a little bit. Now, after I get this strip in, I'll show you on this side what it looks like. And we're just going to keep going from there. And eventually, we're going to finish everything out. Now, this isn't a very big project. This is only 10 or 12 by 12. And it'll go very quickly, I promise. You can actually, when you get done with this, you can use it for hot plate trivets. You can use it for coffee, anything in the kitchen you wanted to. But that's kind of what it's going to look like on the side facing you. And your back side, I'm getting stuck here, is going to look just like this. Now, a lot of the fabrics I have here, I've got some corduroy, I have some upholstery fabrics. There are these little gray ones here. They were scrub fabric that they wear at the hospital. So they weren't worn. It's just excess fabric that I got from a friend who had quite the stash of it. So none of these have been on anybody. They're just pieces of quilts that are quilting fabric scraps that I had and friends have given me, and I wasn't going to use them. So, it makes for kind of an interesting thing there. And because I don't like putting too many patterns together. And what I'll do is I'll take those patterns, the ones with the really pronounced patterns, and put them somewhere else as I'm running through. And we're going to get this through pretty quick. You're going to notice I left you a lot of fabric, and there's a reason for that. When we get closer to the end, I'm going to show you how to clean up those ends if you don't want to have the frayed sashy looking type ends. You can set them up in such a way so they look a lot cleaner, a little bit nicer, and you may enjoy them a little bit better. Got some flannel with the Gemini. It's an old fabric. So Gemini was a long time ago. But again, I have stashes. So, and I imagine that you probably do at home too. The chicken wire is really kind of nice to work with because it's really forgiving. It's not going to poke you, not like the metal chicken wire would. And the coolest thing is when you're making these mats, you can make these any size. You can make them the size that I did for my sewing machine. You can use them on camp trips and just have a really good time with it. All right, let's see. It's upholstery. And here we go. And without cutting the ends on this one, I'm going to show you what the finished side's going to look like here in just a minute. And as you can see, it's going very, very quick. So you may get frustrated with it. If it doesn't turn the way you want it or curl down the way you want it, just pull it back out. Not going to hurt a thing. I'm teaching this as a beginning, it's a beginning project so that maybe you can come down to the shop when we open. We can teach you other ways to weave and how to use other products that you may have at home and how to repurpose things. I think repurposing is an important thing for us to do right now because too much of our society is just a one and done. You just use it and throw it. And I find that if I hold on to something for a little bit, I can repurpose it, use it for something else, and it works out really well that way. You'll see a lot of that in the shop when you come in. I have actually taken things that have other uses, and I'm going to be putting them into use for displays and for artwork. I like all things that are creative, so I think we all have a bit of creativity in us. We all need to explore it. So that's what we're doing today. See, that's how far we are already. Almost done. And then I'll pull things through, show you how we're going to end this. And I hope that you'll continue on to the next class, which is going to be, we're going to make beads. They're called, so we're going to use roving, and they're felted beads. And you can actually use those for keychain fobs. You can use them for bracelets. If you wanted to, you could add them onto your mat. You can take, I think that if you took baby blankets from, if you have grandchildren, children, and you have favorite things that you really, are kind of shredded and you have gotten fond of them, take some of those, put them on a mat, and then maybe attach like a rattle that they liked or something precious that you think would be a great memento. And when you weave it, all you have to do is attach it to the mat. And that is what we call an embellishment. And you can have that to add to the baby book. You can add it to their room. You can hold on to it till they get married and give it to them later, which is always kind of fun. So there's a lot you can do. Now, let's see here. I have a little bit more of this yellow cording. So we're going to have a wider band of yellow on this particular piece. I might actually have something else there that I can use. I'll hunt through it. But I encourage you to find other ways to use the things that you have at home for projects that you might not have thought about, because it's easy to throw things away. Sometimes it's harder to come up with a use for them. So if you ever need ideas, I am always available, and I'm full of ideas. So, and what we can't think of together, we will find somebody who can. But it's all fun and games when it comes to weaving. And we're going to be teaching at the studio. We're going to have weaving, of course, and we're going to have traditional rug hooking, spinning. We're going to be teaching quilting, and I've got quilting frames that are going to be available if you want to learn how to hand quilt. eventually I'll get a long arm quilter, which is a mechanized version of the hand quilting that's kind of gone away. Our grandmothers used to do it, and now we have all the mechanized stuff, and we've gotten kind of used to having it. But all those things will be available. I'm also going to have a dye studio if you ever want to learn how to dye fabric or wool. So there's a lot to fiber arts that maybe you never knew. And I encourage you to come down and see what we can teach you. See if maybe you find something that you like that you wouldn't have explored before. And I'm always glad to teach, and I know lots of ladies in several guilds, and they're all very wonderful about helping you learn things. They taught me quite a lot. All right, so here we are at the very end, and you see we've got all of these really nice little raggedy ends. Those are kind of fun. So if you want them all even if you want them even and nice looking, you're going to pull this until you have approximately, I don't know, maybe 1 inch to 2 inches. Take this around the end, there, like that, and then you're going to fold it and push it underneath that little piece of chicken wire there, and you'll have a nice end that way. Now this one came out here, so what you'll do in that case is you'll pull it back out, just the one space, run it around, and then you'll put it through the first underlayment there, and run it back through, nice and even. And for security, this fabric's really kind of heavy, so it won't move as much as the other smaller fabric will, or the lighter stuff. But that's what you're going to do all the way down to even it out. And then before you know it, you're going to have a finished piece that you can use for whatever you'd like. They are really quite handy little things. So put a plant on them. You can have them on the front porch. You don't have to worry about it. If it's old fabric or old clothes, you've gotten some use, and there you go. So this portion of it doesn't take long either. I am not going to snip these ends because I'm going to pull this back apart and put this kit together again for someone else. But you can actually take these ends, if you don't want them to come out, take a small piece of thread and a needle and just whip stitch them to keep them in place. Otherwise, I wouldn't really worry about it because it's just going to be like this little guy could be used for plants, not even a problem. I like using them out on we have a glass top table. I like putting these things out there so that we have something between the table and plates and cups and things like that that go out, and they always have condensation, and nobody likes that. Makes a mess. So I'm going to show you this here in just a second. Cool thing about the Scrubs fabric, it has like the little stamp from the company that sold the fabric. So it's got this quality control strip there that's really kind of funky looking. But alrighty, we are almost done. And there again, we have that one that we're going to have to take out over the top of the outside, run it back over, and then flip it through. Just through that little wire, just like that. Now, all right. Here's this one. Just throw that all the way through like that and call it good. Now, if you have any questions, Randa has my phone number, and I will be more than happy to help or answer questions. Now, there's what your outside edge will look like. If you put it in like that, you can always set everything up so that it's a lot more even looking, but I kind of like it rough. It's homemade, and it's just something fun to make. And it will keep you occupied for probably about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. So thank you, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Please please sign up for my next class, and I look forward to teaching you that one too. Bye.